Hey guys, there is just one thing I want to talk about today. And I just want to get this very simple point across. You are not your mind. That's it. That's it. I just want you to know that the thoughts that come up automatically, that's not who you are. And how do I know that? Because if you decide to observe those thoughts, you are capable of doing that. And if you are capable of observing your thoughts, that means you are not that thing. You are the observer. You are above that. You are observing it. You can observe your mind. And if you can observe it, you can't be that thing. The mind is separate from you. Call it what you want. Call it awareness, consciousness, your true self, your higher self, whatever you want to call it's fine. But understand that you are not the mind. And you are not those thoughts. Think about this. When we're feeling bad, everything's energy. When you're feeling bad, your emotional state, your inner state of being feels negative. And that is a lower vibrational, energetic state of being. And when you're at that lower vibration, that lower frequency, what kind of thoughts do you think would be programmed to run with that low feeling? Feeling bad about yourself, feeling bad about life, whatever it is. What would that be? Right? You'd be saying awful things to yourself. We all do it. We all do it. We're way too hard on ourselves. And sometimes we just let the mind run and just accept we think this is how I really feel about myself, I guess. But no, that's just old shit. That's just old programming. Think about when you first started to think those things. See if you can even remember that. Maybe it's been so long you don't even know. And that's okay. Because you don't know what you don't know. And we need to forgive ourselves for not understanding something we weren't taught. Right? I identified with the mind. I accepted that the thoughts that came up when I was feeling bad were the truth. At some point, I just accepted that. And, I found that when I challenged those things and stopped letting myself do it by introducing intentional thought, purposeful thought in the moment, everything changed. I reprogrammed my subconscious. So now when I'm feeling bad, sometimes, yeah, a bad thought will come up, but I catch it right away. And it took a while to get used to that. Eventually, at first it was like I could get stuck in the mind for an hour with all these negative thoughts, just on a cycle, just on a repeat, just going, constantly nagging me. And then I'd finally be like, why am I doing this still? But that's how it started. I had to start at square one, step one, It was baby steps. Eventually I started catching it faster, and then a lot faster, and then almost immediately, and then pretty much immediately. And I would catch it when it started, and I would just say, no, that's not how we feel, and we're not going to do that. And I would put my awareness in my body and be like, you know what? The only thing these emotions are asking of me right now is to feel it, just to sit with it. Can I just sit with it? Can I shut up and just sit with it and feel it, And it's like, I'd almost like start to just observe the mind entirely. Just let it think. Let it think. It wants to think. Observe it. Ask yourself this question ask your mind this question when it's just racing and won't stop. Just be like, oh, that's very interesting. I'm enjoying observing you. I'm enjoying observing you. And I'm so curious what you have to say next. And when you say that to your mind, the mind is like, really? It shuts up. It gets quiet. It's like, you're watching me now. That's weird. And you realize that you are separate from the mind. You can choose intentionally what to think at any moment if you will just feel what you're feeling. If you will take a minute, take just a pause, take a step back from the situation, breathe, and observe what your body is feeling and telling you. The emotions aren't lying. The emotions are true. They're there right now. The mind might be thinking of something you regret from the past. The mind might be worrying about the future. All these things that you cannot know before they happen, because the only time that exists is right now, the present moment. It's the only time that's ever existed. It's the only time that will ever exist. In eternity, which we are living in the middle of an eternity, always. Everything is just happening in one moment. There is no time, because there was no beginning, and there's no end to eternity. And if there's no beginning and no end, that means there was no time. It's timeless. And so the idea that we have a passage of time is stopping us from realizing that we're worrying so much about the past and the future and hardly any time actually living in the moment. I challenge you to do something fun. I challenge you to do something fun. Find something to eat that and remember the first time you do something that you have often, once every couple of weeks, maybe like a burger or something like that. Something simple, delicious, or if you're vegan, whatever your favorite dish is, doesn't matter, no judgment here. And just remember the first time you had it. Even though you have it all the time, even though it doesn't mean much to you now, just remember the first time you bit into like the most delicious burger you ever had, or whatever, or even something even simpler like a McDonald's burger or something like that. Like, think about the first time you had it as a kid and you're like, oh, this is really good. And then you had it more than you wanted to and you got sick of it, probably. And and so now you only have it once in a long while because you just grew old on you. But at some point you got stuck in a pattern of just expecting it to be a certain way. And maybe you even got to a point where you just had a negative expectation about it. Like every time you're like, oh, I bet this is gonna suck. You like, maybe you're not even saying that, but you have that feeling. You just expect it to be messed up or not that good, or to feel bad about yourself afterward, or whatever, Challenge that. And for once, just sit down in the present moment and be like, wow, this is the first time I've ever had this. I'm gonna really enjoy this every moment as if it's the first time. For real, and feel it, and like enjoy it like you did when you were a kid. And then just watch how fucking nothing in the past matters that much and nothing in the future matters that much, because you can't control any of it. You can't control any of it. All you can control is yourself. And that means you have to learn to master your mind and to understand your emotions. Because guess what? We're not physical beings. We're energetic beings. We're energy. Everything is energy. There's nothing that's not energy. And everything exists at a certain vibration and a certain frequency. And if you're feeling bad and you feed the feeling bad by letting the subconscious programming that flows with that frequency run, if you let it just go, then you're just feeding that negativity. You're feeding fear. And it feels worse. But it is possible to get to a peaceful place, you know? It's possible to get to a really peaceful place and to love yourself and to feel good and to be present. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time, the vast majority of the time. And it doesn't take that long. And yeah, you gotta face some sucky stuff sometimes to figure out why you're feeling the way you're feeling. You know, I get it. You know, I did that for a while. But eventually you get to a place of acceptance. Surrender to the flow of life. You can't control it, but you can control yourself. So maybe put more focus on what's going on inside of you than what's going on outside of you. Because as you change, and as you feel better, as you're happier, as you love yourself more, life gets better in every other area. You have to change the internal to have a better external. There's no way around that. That's just the truth. So embrace who you really are, which is not the mind. And it's not those programmed thoughts based on past experiences. It's the you that talks and speaks intentionally to yourself. Tell yourself a more loving story. Tell yourself the loving truth. I love you guys.